welcome back to my channel. I just wanted to take a few minutes today to go over some of the classic novels that have made a huge impact in my life. I learned something about myself by reading them, and I hope that you might one day take a look at some of these if you haven't already. They definitely will teach you something about yourself. They've also taught me a lot about life in general, and these are ones that I plan to reread several times throughout my life. To start off our list, we have The Old Curiosity Shop by Charles Dickens, written in 1841. This novel follows the struggles of little Nell as she tries to pull her grandfather out of a life of gambling and debt in the city. He is indebted to a moneylender named Daniel Quilp, who also has designs on marrying Nell one day, even though she's just a young girl, not even a teenager yet. The grandfather has racked up so much gambling debt that he loses his little shop where he sells little curiosities to Daniel Quilp. And Nell comes up with the idea of escaping in the night, starting a new life as beggars, wandering through the countryside, and their goal is to find rest one day. And they end up amongst a traveling Punch and Judy show. She ends up getting a job introducing the waxworks. And it's a really interesting account of life in the 1840s in England. The most important part of this novel really teaches you what is important in life, and it's not the material things. Next on our list is Anna Karenina, written by Leo Tolstoy in 1873. This follows the life of Anna Karenina, who was married and had an 8-year-old son when she decided to travel to her brother's home to try to save his marriage. He was caught cheating on his wife Dolly, and Anna came to try to smooth things over for her brother. In the meantime, Anna meets a very handsome Captain Vronsky, and she starts an affair with him, and her husband will not let her have a divorce. And it just follows her spiral downwards into a loveless situation where she ends up being scorned by society. In the meantime, it also follows another couple who has a better outcome. A girl named Kitty had her heart set on marrying Captain Vronsky. She ends up marrying a man named Levin, who has his heart set on following God, and they end up having a much more successful life, getting married and doing things the right way. But it's very interesting because you get into the mind of Anna as she progresses through the story, and it's such a deep psychological look into her experiences. You feel like you are that character. So that one has taught me to appreciate the simpler things in life and not necessarily chase after those greater ambitions that might end up being the ruin of you. Next on our list is War and Peace, written in 1869 by Leo Tolstoy. Now, this novel is one that I had shied away from for so many years because of the size. It's over 1,000 pages. So I thought, it's not for me, it's for some intellectual genius. But when I got the Kindle app, I didn't have to tote around a big heavy book, and I could just, at my leisure, read a couple chapters at a time at my own pace. The novel follows Pierre, who is the unlikely hero of our story. He inherits his father's fortune even though he was an illegitimate son, And society had pretty much rejected him until he came into his fortune. And he marries a woman named Helene who is just out for his money. And he's not happy with that marriage at all. He's in love with a girl named Natasha. And throughout the novel, it follows the family's struggles through war. And you learn to appreciate the little things in life. Pierre searches for meaning, and he doesn't find it until after he suffers through being a prisoner of war. He had only gone to a battle to sort of experience it. He wasn't really a soldier, but he got caught up and he ended up in freezing, starving conditions, which Tolstoy really describes everything, so you really feel the deprivation. You feel like you have frostbite. You feel the gnawing hunger. And Pierre learns that it's just the simple things that bring the best pleasure, not the overindulgence, not greed. So this one was really one of my favorites because it really has stuck with me all these years. Our next on our list is The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoyevsky. It follows the fortunes of 4 sons of a pleasure-seeking man named Fyodor, who is very lustful, and he follows after the pleasures of the flesh and not the spirit at all. His one son, Ivan, he is very intellectual and he questions God. He knows God exists, but he questions all the trouble in the world. And he debates with himself so much, he almost drives himself crazy. His other son, Dmitri, all he wants is to follow in his father's footsteps. He just wants money, pleasure, and sex. And he demands his father's inheritance money to be given to him right away. Alyosha is different from the rest. He wants to follow after God and focuses on the spiritual things of life. And he has very little interest in money or lust. The other son, Smirnikov, he is a supposed bastard son, and he is a servant in the household. Fyodor won't claim him as his own, but everyone suspects that he was a result of him raping the village idiot girl. His words, not mine, in the novel. But Fyodor ends up being murdered, and everyone assumes it's Dmitri because he was, after the inheritance money. But throughout the novel, you learn that Alyosha is the only one that ends up having peace because he seeks after God in spiritual matters, where the rest are following after lust and intellectual things. And it really had a huge impact on me. It redirects your goals in life towards God and away from the things of the flesh. So I would highly recommend this one. It was recommended on the Dennis Prager show. That's the only reason I would have ever picked it up. Finally on our list is Jane Eyre, written by Charlotte Bronte in 1847. This one follows a sad story of Jane as she grows up as an orphan in the care of her aunt, Mrs. Reed, who does not treat her like one of the other kids. And she ends up getting sent off to a boarding school called Lowood, where she's half starved and sees one of her best friends pass away from tuberculosis. So she ends up leaving there and becoming the governess to Adele, who is the ward of a Mr. Rochester. And she ends up falling in love with Mr. Rochester, but he has a secret first marriage. And It really is a great story of forgiveness, and I read it the first time when I was just in middle school, and there's a lot of things I couldn't appreciate. Some of the imagery with the scenery, some of the deeper aspects I couldn't appreciate, but on a basic level, it was so wonderful. The story of redemption and forgiveness and building a life even though your beginnings aren't perfect. But those are the top 5 most life-changing novels that I have read, and I would highly recommend them to you. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.